Have you ever found yourself deep into a successful corporate career, climbing a ladder, but secretly dreaming of building something that's actually yours? Well, you are definitely not alone. For a lot of folks in mid-career, that dream of starting a business feels so close, and yet completely impossible. You're kind of trapped by the very job that gives you that success. Does this sound familiar? This is a real quote from someone in that exact spot. You've got the stability, you've got the success, but you feel totally stuck. It's the classic catch-22, right? The high-reward job that gives you security is the same one that eats up all your time and energy, making that dream of yours feel like it's on another planet. So how in the world do you actually do it? How do you break those golden handcuffs? That is the big question. In this explainer, we're going to lay out a real strategic plan to get you there. We'll walk through the mindset shifts you have to make, the legal stuff you can't ignore, and the financial planning that gives you a real shot at making this escape a reality. Okay, first things first, let's just acknowledge that feeling. That pull to leave a stable career for the unknown, it's powerful. And it's not just some random daydream. For many, it's a direct response to a very real ticking clock, corporate burnout. Here's the key thing to understand. This isn't just about chasing a passion project. It can be about survival. Think about it. Even the best jobs can have an expiration date. When you look around and see that almost everyone in your field eventually hits a wall and burns out, you realize you need a plan B. It's about creating your own next step before the ladder just ends. So where do we begin? Well, before you even think about a business plan or a budget, the first step is all internal. It's a huge psychological shift you have to make, from thinking like an employee to truly thinking like a founder. It's funny, we always think the biggest hurdles are money or time, but they're not. The biggest obstacle is your own mindset. After years in a corporate job, you've been trained to think a certain way, to play it safe, to get approval. Breaking free means rewiring all of that and learning to be comfortable with a world of calculated uncertainty. This right here is a perfect example. In most jobs, mistakes are bad. They can get you a bad review or even get you fired. But for an entrepreneur, mistakes are gold. They're data. Michael Jordan famously said he succeeded because he failed so much. A founder sees every mistake not as a failure, but as a lesson that makes the whole venture smarter and stronger. And what about security? As an employee, security feels like that reliable paycheck, but we all know that can vanish tomorrow with one layoff. An entrepreneur redefines security. It's not about avoiding risk altogether. It's about controlling it. It's about taking smart, calculated risks where you're in the driver's seat instead of leaving your fate in someone else's hands. This last mindset shift changes how you see your own role. In the corporate world, you're often rewarded for being the expert, the smartest person in the room on a specific topic. But a founder's job isn't to be the smartest, it's to assemble the smartest team. Your goal shifts from getting individual credit to making the entire team, the entire company succeed. Okay, so you've started rewiring your brain. Now it's time to get practical. We call this planning your coded exit. And no, it's not about being sneaky, it's about being smart. It's about doing all the critical legal homework before you hand in your resignation to protect yourself and your new idea from day one. Before you do anything else, these are your first 3 moves. 1. Find every single document you ever signed, your employment contract, NDAs, all of it. 2. You need to actually read them and figure out what they say about things like non-competes. And 3, and this one is absolutely non-negotiable, talk to a lawyer. Do not try to guess about this stuff. This slide gets to a huge risk. Who actually owns your brilliant idea? You need to comb through your contracts for something called a work-for-hire clause. This can mean that anything you create while you're employed could legally belong to your company, even if you did it on your own time with your own computer. It is absolutely essential that your startup, and only your startup, owns its intellectual property. And then there's the big one, the infamous non-compete clause. It's basically the legal version of Golden Handcuffs, designed to stop you from taking your skills to a competitor or, becoming one yourself. They look really scary on paper, but their power is often a lot weaker than you think. And here's some great news. The whole landscape is changing. The FTC recently announced a new rule to ban non-competes, which is a total game changer. They recognize these things hold down wages and kill innovation. This one move is expected to boost worker pay by $300 billion. The tide is really turning in your favor. All right, you've checked out the legal stuff. Now we get to the question that keeps most people up at night. Can I really afford to do this? Let's talk about your financial runway. This is a term we borrow straight from the startup world, and it's a brilliant way to think about your money. It's not just about how much cash you have in the bank. It's about how many months that cash will last you. This is the single most important number for giving yourself the breathing room to build your business without panicking. And the formula itself couldn't be simpler. You just take your total savings, everything you can access, and divide it by your monthly burn rate. That's just a fancy term for how much money you spend every month. This simple calculation is your first step toward making a decision based on facts, not fear. But one calculation is just the beginning. This is where planning becomes your superpower. Just look at this chart. Your choices make a huge difference. If you quit today, maybe you've got 10 months of runway. But what if you start a side hustle now to bring in a little extra cash? Boom, suddenly you have 15 months. And if you just save like crazy for 6 more months, now you're at 18. This turns a terrifying leap of faith into a calculated strategic decision. And here are a few pro tips to make that runway even safer. Always build in a buffer. If you calculate 12 months, plan like you only have 9. Stuff always comes up. Don't forget big new costs, like healthcare. And this is a big one. Actually try living on your new frugal budget for a month before you quit, just to see if it's realistic. Make your plan bulletproof. So, once you've made the leap, your job title changes completely. You're not just an employee anymore. You are now the CFO, the bookkeeper, and the person who is legally on the hook for the financial health of your business. It's time to get good at the boring stuff. This quote says it all, doesn't it? It might be boring, but it's absolutely essential. Managing your finances isn't just a good idea. It's often a legal requirement. If you ignore bookkeeping, taxes, and payroll, you're not just being messy. You could sink your entire business before it even has a chance. And please, don't be intimidated by things like a balance sheet. It's way simpler than it looks. Check out this example. On the left, you've got assets. That's just what the business owns, like cash or a laptop. In the middle, you've got liabilities. That's what it owes, like a loan. And the difference between the two? That's your equity. It's just a simple snapshot of your company's health. That's all. As we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with this idea because it really flips the whole script on risk. We're all taught that the corporate job is the safe option. But is it, really? You could be laid off tomorrow, your project could get canceled. When you work for yourself, yeah, it's risky, but you have control. You have agency. You get to decide what happens next. So let's circle back to where we started. If you feel like your career has an expiration date, whether it's from burnout or just a deep desire for something more, the real question isn't if you're going to make a move, it's when and how. With the right mindset and a solid plan, you can be the one calling the shots.